and welcome to Beauty in the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's special guest is Dr. Regina Rodman. She's a facial plastic and cranial surgeon in private practice in Houston and Dubai, which we'll talk more about. She's specializing in bony contouring of the chin, jaw, and forehead. Now, Dr. Rodman attended Rush University in Chicago for medical school, and her otolaryngology head and neck surgery training at the University of Texas, Houston, as well as advanced facial plastic surgery at SUNY Upstate. Now, Dr. Rodman has written numerous articles and speaks all over the world on facial surgery, especially chin and jaw contouring, forehead reduction, and facial feminization, and does mission work in India. Dr. Rodman, welcome to Beauty in the Biz. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, terrific. I'm so glad we finally met up at a conference, so I was able to track you down and get you on the show. So why facial plastic surgery? Why not some other specialty?
That's a good question. So the truth is, when I went to med, I always knew I was going to be a surgeon, like without a doubt. Just the way that my brain works, I loved surgery because there is a concrete problem that I can fix with my hands, and it's done when I'm done. So I always knew it was going to be surgery for me. I actually, when I was in medical school, thought that I was going to do orthopedic surgery, or for a minute, I was between the two, which is funny to me now because they're so opposite. But I liked orthopedics because I'm really into fitness, I'm really into sports, and I do a lot of stuff on my social media stuff about fitness and just kind of like body positivity. But then I just remember I went and shadowed an orthopedic surgeon, and he was like hammering something, and it was like doom doom, and then he goes, "Okay, that's good enough." And I was like, oh, "Good enough? Like it should be perfect." And then I remember in anatomy class, first year of med school, when we did the head and the neck, like I loved it. Everyone else hated it because there's so many structures and everything is kind of packed together. And I knew right then it's super high real estate. Everything's important. You can't make a mistake. You have to know everything in 3 dimensions. And for me, that just like I knew right then that that's what I was going to do. I did a lot of art actually in my undergrad, and I've always liked that, especially 3D art. And so it just plastics felt like the nice meld of both of those things. And like I said, it was really head and neck for me. Like I never really was interested in breast augmentation, body stuff. Although, I mean, plastic surgeons do a lot of really amazing microvascular stuff. But for me, it was just always going to be the face.
Gotcha. And then how did you get from fellowship to Houston in your own practice? What was that journey like?
Yeah. So the interesting thing, I had a little bit of a roundabout path, which
everybody does.
That's kind of life, right? Like this is never what I thought I'd be doing. I really was focused on reconstructive surgery. I wanted to do microvascular. I wanted to do free flaps, work with cancer patients. I was interested in all kinds of reconstruction. So I did my fellowship up in SUNY Upstate in Syracuse, New York, which is a really interesting program because it's one of the few otolaryngology fellowships that specializes in craniofacial surgery. So the man who started the fellowship, Scott Tatum, kind of 25 years ago, moved into basically a vacuum. So there's no oral surgery residency, there's no plastic surgery residency. So he does everything. Like we did cranial synostosis, tons of cleft lip and palate, distractions, orthognathic surgery, genioplasty, frontal orbital advancements. I mean, these crazy bone surgeries, which I liked. I was interested. I also did a lot of microvascular surgery. When I was done training, I thought I'll go into academics. That's what you do with this kind of training. And there was just no jobs. And that's a reality in facial plastics. A lot of times there's like one job maybe for all 65 applicants. So it just wasn't an option for me at that year. So I started in private practice with a group, the head of which was a craniofacial plastic surgeon. So we got to do some interesting cases. And then eventually I left that group and decided to start my own practice. And so what I've done in my own practice, which like I said, is not really kind of what I thought I'd be doing, but I had so much training in jaw and chin, and I felt like I could do, these really dramatic double jaw surgeries. In private practice, I had learned about V-line surgery, which is really popular in South Korea, where the angle of the mandible is removed, and the point is to make the jaw a little bit more V-shaped, popular with people who have kind of a square jawline. So I kind of started marketing that. I put some of that out there on social media, did a few of those patients. And then one day a transgender woman emailed me and said, "Oh, well, will you work with transgender patients?" And I was, sure, absolutely. So I did her chin and jaw and a few other things, and she was happy. And then she told her friend, who told her friend, who told her friend. And now that's really the bulk of what I do, is those kind of feminizing surgeries. Although now I still see a lot of transgender, non-binary patients, but there's also a lot of cisgender women who just think their brow bone is heavy or want a more narrow lower face, want their hairline lowered. Um, so it's kind of a fun niche practice that I have.
And how did you end up in Houston? Because it is one competitive area, isn't it?
Yeah, although the interesting thing about doing something that not many people do is there's still competition, but not so much directly in my neighborhood. There's another woman who also has a similar practice in Austin, and we're friends. And there's a few other people, but the good thing about doing these sort of difficult, unusual surgeries is there's not as much competition. But the way I ended up is I did my residency here, and people don't have to say where they did their residency, but you meet a lot of people in the community. You meet people. I was plugged in. I was married at the time, and my ex-husband worked here, so it just seemed pretty natural that I was going to come back to Houston. Which, as I'll just say, as an aside, I matched here, and as everyone knows, you match where you match. And I remember being like, really? Like Texas? Really? I was living in Chicago at the time. And I thought I was, I was happy to have a position and happy I got a spot, but I had a lot of anxiety about moving to Texas. And Houston's great. It's great. Well, right now it's like the surface of the sun, but in general, it's a great place to live. It's not necessarily like a tourist destination, but it's affordable. You can drive, you can park, and yet we still have all the benefits of theater, opera, ballet, sports teams, all the benefits of a major city. So it just made a lot of sense for me to just stay here.
Yeah. Where are you originally from? Because you're not from Chicago. I can hear that.
My parents are not in the military, although people think that. My dad's actually a college professor, so we moved for master's degree, then doctorate, then postdoc, then job. I kind of grew up all over. So, like Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, went to high school in Minnesota, and then moved to Chicago to do a post baccalaureate program because I didn't originally go into medicine out of my undergrad. Um, and then matched in otolaryngology, and that's what brought me to Texas.
Gotcha. It's always a jagged road, you know?
It is so jagged. So yeah, I mean, from the start, I think on some level, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor, but going through undergrad, I went to a liberal arts school, and there was just so many things to learn, and I wanted to study abroad, and I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I just felt like not right now. And so I took all the music classes. Like I said, I took a lot of art classes. I majored in anthropology. I actually worked as a social worker for a couple of years. And then it just kind of kept coming up. Like I would take my clients to the doctor, their doctor's appointments, and the doctors would, "Oh, have you ever thought about medicine?" And people just mentioned that. And finally, after a couple of years, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do it. And so I had to go back and take all the science classes and stuff. But it for me that was the best path because I had tried a lot of stuff, and so then once I got into med school, I mean, med school is hard, and I felt like I've worked in an office, I've worked at this, I've worked at this. I don't want any of those jobs. So when med school was really hard, it was helpful to think, yeah, but you've tried the other things. You've done all the things, and this is who you are. This is who you're supposed to be, and then just keep plugging.
And you're happy with your decision?
Most days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, like any job, there's frustrations, there's problems, but I mean, I think about this when some days I'm frustrated and I think like, oh, I'm gonna do something else with my life. But there is just nothing I love more than operating. Nothing, not even anything to do with my spare time. Like I love it. It is my happy place. And that it's my superpower. I do some of these facial feminization cases are 10, 12 hours. It's just, I can do that. I'm not tired. I'm not hungry. I'm just in a flow state. Um, and it's just, my brain is quiet and everything just happens. And I can't imagine working another job. There's nothing else I think that I would get that.
That's great. I mean, the rule is it's 50-50. So if you're happy with what you're doing 50% of the time, you're okay, you know? Yeah. Anyway, back to that, the facial feminization surgeries. Sorry for my ignorance. Are they covered under
I would love
insurance?
to, yeah, I would love
Are
to
they
talk about this
cosmetic?
because not many people really, I mean, they kind of know or they've heard, but not many
Yeah, I
people
don't
are
know.
really familiar with it. So facial feminization, when I started, it was not covered much at all. More and more, I think insurance companies are recognizing that these are really important surgeries for these patients and necessary. And so more and more insurance is starting to cover it. There's a couple companies that cover it across the board. And so I have a lot of patients who will go get jobs, like Starbucks is one, Amazon is one. Well, they'll go start working there so that they can get the insurance that covers it.
Um,
So it is definitely becoming more widespread and I think talked about and known a little bit more. Even in the last 5 years, it's exponent or it's increased quite a bit.
I just covering the OR alone, though. How who's paying for this? If that's a 12-hour procedure, that's amazing.
So yeah, so insurance or patients pay out of pocket, and it's a lot of money. And so, I mean, sometimes people ask me like, "Well, how do you know they're sure? Or what if they change their mind?" And I mean, to save that kind of money and fly across the country and undergo, it's a lot of surgery, it's a lot of recovery. Like these patients have thought it through. They feel like they need this to so that their outside matches their inside. And just to kind of be who they are and to live in the world. So it's a really important thing. And so a lot of patients, if they can, will work sometimes for years to save up to have a procedure like this.
Just out of curiosity, how much of your practice is just straight everyday cosmetic, facial cosmetic versus the insurance side or the feminization side?
Um, Probably at this point, the like transgender patients are probably 45%, and then the rest is similar procedures, but on cisgender patients.
What's
So
assistant?
not as, yeah, great question. So cis means same. So cisgender people are people who identify their gender identity the same as that they were born. So I was born biologically female, I identify as a female, I'm cisgender. Transgender patients are patients, trans means opposite. So they are born a given sex, but their gender identity, meaning they identify, is different from the sex they were born.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
there are some what we just call women, which but by that we mean cisgender women, like I was saying, that maybe want their hairline lowered or want some of the similar procedures to just look softer, feminine.
Gotcha. And then how important is the non-surgical side of your practice, or are you just doing these big cases?
It is not important. I would say it's probably 10% of my practice. I spent a whole year trying to build a med spa and trying to build up those services. And I know it, I mean, I see these successful med spas. It just didn't fit me. It just didn't fit me in my practice. And so I really try to incentivize my surgical patients to come back to me for their injections, for their skincare, for anything. I would much prefer my patients not go to a separate med spa. So I try to give them some discounts and special treatments and stuff. But I don't really have a big med spa side of the practice, which, like I said, I spent probably a year and a half really focusing on building that. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm good at this thing. I have a great practice here. Let's just focus on the thing that I like, and that's working. So for now, that's where I am.
Honestly, from a marketing consultant perspective, I think you have such a good niche going there. And you're going throughout the whole nation or probably the world on this particular. So you're going deep into a procedure that's fairly new. The other doctors aren't doing it. It's really specific. I mean, if you can live off of that and you enjoy it, what the heck, go for it.
Yeah, and I think that was some of why the med spa didn't take off. Is I would say at least half of my patients come from out of town, out of state, even out of the country sometimes. So they're
Mhm.
not coming back. They don't all come back for their
Right.
for Botox injections, whatever. The people in town, I mean, we have a good core of people that have a procedure with me and then follow up that live locally. And even Houston, patients from San Antonio, Dallas, Austin will drive back to have their PRP or whatever they need as an adjunct to their surgery. Um, but it's primarily my surgical patients that are getting med spa type services.
Gotcha. So regarding the business side of your practice, what's the biggest challenge?
Ooh, I want to say all of it, but really specifically now, I think um, human resources and staff management. Right now, the second, I have an amazing team. I have really great people. Uh, but I mean, I think about this sometimes. Like, I did this very academic fellowship where, I'm rebuilding infant baby skulls. I can harvest your leg bone and rebuild your face, and we can do these crazy things. And then we get out and like, here, run a business, and some fellowships I know get like have a little bit of training in that. Mine did not. So it was a very steep learning curve, all of it. Like I had to be the interior decorator and the HR and the IT person and just and all those things are things, especially like human resources and management. I mean, there's master's degrees in those. There's a ton of stuff to know. So it's been a steep learning curve. That's still the thing that I think is ever evolving, and I'm always trying to do a little better. And I will just say thank you for your podcast because I all the things I learned was from podcasts. I read a few books, but there's few books that are varied enough. So your podcast was one. There's a few others that I made all my staff listen to your podcast too, which was really helpful, especially for my patient care coordinator. Um, because we're kind of learning this on the fly, a lot of us. So the I feel like the IT stuff now we've hired somebody, the decorator we've hired somebody, the human resources I have help, but still ultimately managing a team and kind of having the team flow and then and creating the clinic environment that I want is a constant upkeep and constant evolving.
And the bad news is it's always going to be because humans are involved and they're involved and evolving, and so are you. And it's just a real dynamic situation where people are coming and going. Wow. So there's nothing easy about that. So
Right. And that's it. I mean, like I said, like right now, this second, I love my team. I feel like I'm like, man, I've gotten so much better at hiring. But they have some of them have bigger goals. They want to go back to school as they should. So it's not going to be perfect forever. So I'm always trying to, get more insights or hear what other people do. Because that's really what's been helpful is hearing other people's experience.
and enjoy it when it's stable like this because it doesn't always stay that way, and you just have to keep adapting. It's okay, you
Yeah.
know. Tell me about Dubai. I've never been to Dubai. I've been to Saudi Arabia, and that was fascinating. My goal is to get to Dubai. Are you going there very often, or where is that fitting into your world?
Yeah. So I'm going back in November. You can come if you
Okay,
want.
thank you.
It's so basically I went there for vacation. I just wanted to see it. And I just fell in love. Like it's such an interesting city. There's just so much development, so much technology. Um, just there's so many interesting things about it. And I knew that a lot of the Middle East had a need for female plastic surgeons. So a lot of the women who live in the area, they're Muslim, they wear burqa, the hijab, cover their face. They're allowed for medical care, they can take it off. Um, but for plastic surgery, it's First of all, it's kind of a gray area, and then when they do take it off, a lot of times the husband needs to be present. Of course, this is a broad generalization. There's different sects and different types of religion that have variations, which I acknowledge. But in general, husband has to be there unless it's a female doctor, in which case, woman to woman, it's free for all. So I knew there was a need for Western trained women to come, especially in plastic surgery. So honestly, I created this opportunity for myself. I was like, I want to work here. While I was there, I started cold calling a couple places, I got in touch with a few people, came back, I found some leads and pursued a few things. Then COVID happened and that kind of went by the wayside. But then once I had a patient who had a really difficult case. It was like a revision. He was happy with his results. We were just chatting one day about um, Middle East, and I told him how, I had been trying to pursue this opportunity. Once things open up again, maybe I'll try again. And my patient said, oh, well, my brother runs the biggest healthcare company in Dubai, don't you? And I was like, I do not. Tell me more. So the next time his brother came to town, we all met and we got along. So they flew me out there to see if it was a fit. And kind of the same there, like the things that I do, especially the bony surgeries, there's just no one at all like in that whole region doing that. So I got hired by a hospital. So right now what I'm doing is quarterly. I'm trying to go spend a week to 7 to 10 days. Just do all the surgery I can, and then follow up with the patients before and after with video chat.
Oh, so are you doing, what kind of surgery are you doing? Craniofacial surgery? Feminization surgery?
So,
Cosmetic?
um, facial feminization, as I do it here, is not legal there.
I was thinking, I
But
can't imagine them being that open.
Dubai is surprisingly liberal. I'd say it's probably, the most westernized city in the Middle East. So the hospital stance on it as of now is that they do cosmetic surgery and there's no insurance coverage there. So they do cosmetic surgery. If a patient wants a hairline advancement, that's probably the most popular thing there is just to have the hairline lowered for all women. Um, if and their stance is just if a patient wants a cosmetic surgery, we provide cosmetic surgery. We're not going to ask a lot of questions. People can have whatever they want. So I haven't done one of these big like full face transformations, but rhinoplasty, genioplasty, the hairline lowering is something I do a lot of here and there. And it's still relatively new, so I'm still trying to grow that part of my practice.
I think that can be a really lucrative profit center for you too. Yeah.
Hopefully, I went into it with the idea that as long as I don't lose money, it's worth it. Because it's just something different. I think
Yeah.
we go through training like okay, undergrad, we got to get into med school, we got to get a good residency, got to get a fellowship, we got to get a good job, start my own practice, got to this, and now I'm kind of at this place where I have a nice practice, I have a good life, and a little part of me is like, this is it for 20 more years? Like you're just going to be in the same office? So it just adds just a new dimension, a new perspective. It's interesting to just learn how different patients see things, what different patients want. Sort of the aesthetic is different in the Middle East, so I'm learning to listen to that. Um, it's just fun, just something to spice it up. And if I end up making a lot of money, great. And if not, it's just fun to be, have some variety.
I I completely agree. I often think about that. Half the time, I think surgeons buy lasers because they're bored. They're just absolutely bored of their business, and they're like, I don't know what I don't know what to do." So I think that's a great idea. Quarterly, get the heck out and go do something
Yeah,
else. And that's a great
yeah,
idea.
yeah. And I mean, I don't have kids. I never wanted kids, so I'm free to travel. I'm free to go away for a week. And it's like a good time. I'm young enough that it's not the jet lag is real, but I'm young enough that I can adapt to it. 20 more years, I probably won't want to be doing this, but for right now, it's just really fun.
Now, where does India fit into this? I know you've been doing some mission work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that all started and happened long before the Dubai
Oh,
problem. So I do it through a mission called the India Project. And I've done several other missions before. I went to Guatemala, been to South America, a few other things, but the India Project, I've been back a few times. Um, Signed up for it. Again, I think, at least me, and I think that a lot of other surgeons are like this. I mean, we just need stuff to do. We just need to be doing something all the time. And I don't want to buy a laser. So, uh, it's just a nice thing. And it's just a nice way to feel like you're giving back. And we're giving back, but then, it's kind of cliche, but I also learn so much every time I go abroad and work in like a totally different environment with a totally different situation. Um, so the India Project is the one who organizes the whole trip, but the people who have gone on it the last few years, and I haven't been actually since COVID, but the first few years that we did it, we were all graduates of my same fellowship. So we're kind of buddies. We have the same training, but we have vastly different practices. So we're a great team because we all know how to do cleft palates, cleft lips. I mean, we all trained in that forever. We know how to do microtia. We know how to do a lot of these congenital defects. That's really was the bulk of our fellowship. But one person also did a microvascular cancer fellowship. One is in a smaller town, and so he does oculoplastics, trauma, everything at an academic center. I'm in private practice doing a little more cosmetic. So we have the same foundation, but then we have different specialized skills. And so it's really great for me just academically, because a lot of times I'll have something that I ask, one of the other doctors, like, oh, how would you repair this? And they have something I've never heard of, but then I also have skills that they don't practice all the time. I mean, I do tons, like, for example, I do tons of fat grafting for cosmetic reasons, but it also works great in cleft lips that are thin, or, birth defects where some of the skin is thinned out. And so I'm like, oh, let me show you how I do this. So it's been really great. And I'm hoping that we kind of, now that everything is stabilized, we get to go again this coming year.
For sure. Let's switch gears and talk about marketing. Here's the thing about what you're trying to do is go wide, with a few procedures, but Google doesn't like that. They don't want you to do that. They want you to stay local. How are you handling that?
Yeah. So again, this is a lot of trial and error. Because nobody has here's a niche practice handbook. So I had learned that Google ads just don't work for me. I've tried I've tried 3 different companies, one that is really known for being great and has all the latest and greatest, and it just doesn't work for me because they want to target an area. And there's people in Houston that want a genioplasty, but not that many. And so really what I found is our best leads come from social media, come from our website, like the website SEO. People know what procedure they need, and they will hop on Google, or they'll hop on, and we get a lot of patients actually from social media. They'll hop on Instagram and search chin reduction, and they don't necessarily know it's called a genioplasty, but they know they want their chin smaller, or small chin surgery, something like that. So we have really made an effort to put hashtags on all of our social media posts so that our page comes up when patients are looking for that. And I would say at least half of my patients, probably 60 or 70% of my out-of-town patients, we actually get from social media.
If just in case you wanted my 2 cents, you're doing a ton of videos on Instagram. I would be so specific. I would have like like jaw, well, the way the patient would say it. They wouldn't say that medical term. They would say like chin shaping or chin augmentation or something like that. And if you just did those short, even the Instagram reels, what is a chin aug, or what is, I think I can go far, because I think social media is your best bet, like you're doing, to go for a big, much broader reach.
Yeah. So the last year we put a ton of money into Google ads, and it just didn't return what it was supposed to. Then I made some efforts to really rehaul my website, and I'm happy with that. I think my new company did a great job, but fleshing out some of the content, explaining stuff a little bit better, because just like you said, like, I know what this is, and when I write the content, I write something. Theirs is a little more probably layperson friendly. So that has been really helpful. And then I decided just to try to focus a lot more on social media, and just to do little educational videos. That is a very hard position to hire for someone to help with that. So I finally now have somebody who's good, and we're starting to get a really good flow. And so I'm hoping that we continue to do more things like that.
So would you suggest others that are entering this marketplace, or they're just trying to find their way in this marketplace because it got so crowded? Would you suggest they also niche it like you did, or do they stay broad and just be, oh, I'm everything. I do all of this. I do rhino, I do body, I do face, or something like what you're doing? Because honestly, in today's world, to stand out, you've got to pick a procedure externally.
Yes, that's what I think. And I know there's plenty of people who are like, oh, I'm good at everything. I do everything. I've done everything for years. And I don't know. Um, I just know for myself, like the two procedures I do a lot of is hairline advancement and lip lifts. I still learn every single case. And so, I mean, like I did two lip lifts today, and still every case I'm like, oh, just some little tweak that I changed, something that I think like, oh, that's actually going to heal better. So I'm doing that multiple times a week, and every time getting a little better and a little better and evolving my technique. I I can do I can do a lot of things, but am I putting that much focus and that much evolution, that much thought into every single procedure? Like there's just no way. So I mean, I've done like over 100 facial feminization cases, and I do think like everyone gets a little bit better. So I think one, for marketing, it's helpful to just kind of focus on a niche, but also I just think the more you do something, the better you get at it, which then kind of markets itself because like if the hairline advancements that barely have a scar, I mean, like hairdresser has to look carefully. That's great marketing because she might tell somebody, that hairdresser might then tell another client, oh, actually, maybe you've never heard of this procedure, but there's someone in town who does it. Um, and I think those patients are happy, and then they tell people who tell those people. I've certainly had a few patients that are on, like, there is a my chin is too big forum on Reddit. Like, who knew? But one of my patients had surgery with me. She's on this chin forum, posted her pictures. I probably got 7 new patients from that. So, so I think having some kind of focus is just technically better. It's easier to market, and it's also just less stressful. So I just kind of have a routine where even in the operating room, like everyone knows this is the instruments I want. We do it step 1, 2, 3. So it helps take some of the extra mental load off of us too.
It also opens the door to premium pricing because nobody wants to be the guinea pig. And if you have such a specialized, especially this facial feminization, that's wow, that's a tough decision to make. They're going to transform their face, their life, all of that. They don't want to be number one. They want to be number 101. So,
right.
Yeah.
No, I think about that sometimes. I have these moments where I just kind of step back from my life, and I'm like, it's crazy. Most of these patients, I meet them online. We do an online consult. They think about it, make their decision. And of course, they're looking at my photos and probably following me on social media. And so they're kind of getting to know me in the background as well. But we meet one time online, and then they will travel, fly here to me. We meet them. I usually, for out of town patients, I'll do my post op the day before. So they're coming to the clinic and we can go through the plan, et cetera, all the pre op stuff. But I just think, wow, so this person spent an hour with me online and then flew across the country on faith, and I'm going to cut their entire face open, and they're just going to hope it all works out. And it does. But sometimes I just step back from that and I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy that people just trust me like that. And also really awesome that like people trust me like that. It's a huge honor and responsibility to be in charge of all of this.
Yeah. But that's what branding and marketing does. It builds up that trust before they even meet you. And think about it. They're able to trust you and they haven't even met you. That's the power of Instagram and also branding on the website. It all goes together. We're going to wrap it up now, but tell us something we don't know about you.
Some people know, but my side job second passion, I would say, is super into fitness. I used to compete in CrossFit. Now I just do a little too busy, but still do a lot of fitness stuff out of my garage. And now I do some functional bodybuilding. I do a little bit of pole dancing, just for flexibility, mobility, super fun. It's like a great core workout. Do some weightlifting, still do running. So I always have something going on after work.
Yeah, your Instagram, you look like you're quite the power lifter. Like you are buffed. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. All right. If anybody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do so?
You can always on the Instagram send a direct message. We check those multiple times a day. The second best way, or the other good way, is through my website, which is faceforwardhouston.com or drreginarodman.com. There's contact us button that also gets monitored multiple times a day, even on the weekends.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Rodman. It's so nice to get to know you better. And I'm sure I'll see you at a conference again soon. And everyone, that's going to wrap it up for us for Beauty in the Biz. Thanks so much. Please subscribe and share this with your colleagues so we can grow the audience. And if you've got any questions or comments for me, please leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com or on my Instagram. You can DM me at Catherine Maley MBA. And if you really want to dig deeper into the business and marketing side, please check out my library of videos. It's they're at www.cosmeticpracticevault.com. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon. The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.